Hello and welcome to Wednesday night's Hotline Live with Record Sport. My name is Daniel Cobb. I'm delighted to be joined by the gruesome twosome, Keith Jackson and Scott McDermott. How's it going, guys?
Right, Daniel, you all right?
How's things at your end? All right?
Aye, very good.
Aye, fine.
It's actually getting a wee bit steamy in here, isn't it? I don't mean that in a romantic way.
Interesting.
We're very close.
We are very close. Body heat.
Welcome to Hotline Live After Dark.
You know what this studio's like, Dan? It can be almost like a sauna. So
it's mad.
I don't think the two of us want to strip down for it, but
No, certainly not.
After the watershed. Anyone that watches will have seen yesterday that we had some very kind colleague, Keith, mocked up action figures of you and I. I'm delighted to say we've got a Scott McDermott version tonight. Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's class. Class. I'm loving that tie.
is that you getting unveiled as the new Rangers PR? Aye.
Right, I'll hold my hands up, right? I did that on AI, but I never asked for the Rangers tie. That's what it looks like.
It just came. AI knew.
And if you look closely, Scott, you'll see the accessories. You've got a laptop, you've got your daily record, and obviously your passport there.
I lost passport. Oh, thank God.
And just there's the three of us just to finish it up. There you go. If anyone missed it last night, look at that. Delightful.
There you go.
I think that's put an extra couple of pounds on me. I don't think that's very fair or flattering.
I think it's
Well, I was going to. I look.
I know, look at that. When was the last time you looked like that, wee man?
I'm delighted. I watched that 28 waist.
Look at the state of me. George Pepper. Right, okay, Daniel, enough of this nonsense.
Right, down to the serious business, guys. We're obviously just over 24 hours away from Rangers' quarter-final showdown in the Europa League with Athletic Bilbao. A huge game, guys, really.
Yeah, so listen, in terms, context with Rangers season, which has just been another kind of wall-to-wall disappointment domestically, for whatever reason, and we can't work it out, and there's no point even trying to work it out because it doesn't make any sense, but Thursday night in the Europa League is Rangers night. And they've defied all logic. There's no explanation for it. And yet here they are on the cusp, 90 minutes away from another semi-final. Look, we talked about this the other night about, I couldn't believe it. I never thought I'd be lucky enough as a journalist, a Scottish journalist, to report on a Scottish team getting to the really latter stages, let alone a final of European competition. I remember when Celtic did it in 2003, I was at almost every game in that run, if not every game. And it was an astonishing roller coaster ride. And I just thought, wow, at least I can mark that off. I've actually covered a Scottish team getting to a European final. Incredible. For it then to happen again 5 years later with Walter Smith's Rangers side getting to Manchester. And then for it to happen again. And now here we are, only just, 3 years on. And Rangers have got another shot at getting to a quarter final. Before Martin O'Neill in Seville. Getting to a quarter final was I can't believe this.
It's a big deal, right? That's a big deal.
And I'm not sure that anybody actually did get to a quarter final. I think this Martin O'Neill just blew the roof off the thing in 2003. And then since then, sporadically, these things have happened. And it does feel, you actually start to feel when it gets to this point, this is too crazy. There's something else around the corner, something else. And that's why, going into Thursday night, from a Rangers perspective, I don't think they're done yet. Might be proven wrong. Athletic Bilbao could come out of the traps and hammer 5 past them, and that'll be the end of that. Thank you and good night. But I've just got a feeling there's a twist coming, another twist in the tail.
Paul, so you're talking about the Thursday nights there. I mean, and it is amazing because the Europa League feels like Rangers Champions League now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously people would maybe argue there's a negative to that because that's maybe the level or the standard of it. But I think across the way football's gone, the finances, the kind of globalisation of it, I don't think there's anything really wrong with that. And the fact that Rangers, I mean, how they've done it, who knows? But as we were talking about it earlier, it feels like for years now this tournament has just been where Rangers belong, where they excel in, irrespective of domestic form or results that they might have getting into these games. It just feels like they're at home in this competition. And I agree with Jacko on that. I just think this run, everything that's happened to Rangers this season, some of the results they've had again in Europe, especially obviously the first leg against Bilbao, going to 10 men after 10 minutes and hanging on even with 9 men towards the end. It just feels like there's another step.
Something stupid's going to happen again.
The quarterfinals no going to be the end game. Now listen, the caveat to that is Bilbao are a top La Liga team, and if they turn it on, play at their best in that stadium, 55,000, it could be a tough night for Rangers. So there's always that possibility. But just as we were discussing off air before we started, they've been to so many places now where you expected them to come off second best, and they haven't. They've found a way, they've found a system, a strategy, whatever you want to call it, to get results in this competition. And I think 0-0 is dangerous for Bilbao, going into the home game thinking that they've done the job at Ibrox and they just need to turn up at home. I think if they get in with that mindset, then it just plays into Rangers' hands. And I certainly think Rangers have got a great chance of getting a result.
Do you know what? I'll draw a comparison to that. I think last night you saw an example when PSG went 2-0 up at Villa Park. Their players thought that was it. Game over. It was dead. I think Barcelona's players might have gone into their game against Dortmund last night, believing even before the ball was kicked, the tie was dead. And sometimes that's when you're most vulnerable, when you think the hard work's been done. I mean, you know what I think of that PSG side? I think they're the most impressive side for me in the Champions League, and I say that knowing full well that Real Madrid are about to line up against Arsenal later on tonight, and who knows what's going to happen there. Because if there's one side in that competition that might be capable of turning around a 3-0 first leg deficit, it is Real Madrid. When you look at the attacking players they've got and the way the record, their CV in this competition. But I do think, and maybe that's what Arsenal need to guard against tonight, going to the Bernabeu, is that do they think the job's been done? Because you just can't have that mindset at this stage in any European competition. And you'll see it, and I think you'll get drama tonight at the Bernabeu because of that. I don't think that story's over. The same way last night when Villa go 2-0 down, you think, well, PSG, and I do firmly believe that PSG thought at that point, well, that's it, we've done the hard work, we can put the tools down. For Villa to come back at them the way they did, for John McGinn to be the guy that makes it 2-2 and getting light a fire under Villa Park because the place was like a morgue at 2-0. So yeah, you see it everywhere. You look at this stage now in European competition, and I don't care what level it is, whether it's Champions League or Europa League, there's drama to be had everywhere you look, and sometimes it's really unexpected. And Rangers are the tail of the unexpected in this competition, aren't they?
Well, look, we've got plenty of comments coming in, and if you're watching at home, please get in touch with your predictions, your team predictions as well. We'll talk about that a little bit. You mentioned the stadium there, guys, earlier on today. I caught up with Record Sports' Andy Newport in the stadium, and let's hear what he had to say. Andy, first questions first. It looks lovely. How's the weather?
It's been nice today, but just as we speak, there's a few clouds moving in across the skyline, so I think it's forecast to have a couple of showers just as Barry Ferguson and his Rangers team arrive at the stadium. So it's not quite been the summer sunshine that we've been having back home in the last few weeks. I think it's a wee bit in the greyer side back in Glasgow as well, was it?
Yeah, sadly.
So yeah, I think we've brought the weather with us, unfortunately.
One thing that you didn't bring with you was Scott McDermott. What happened there?
The wee man's had a nightmare. He's lost his.
He's going to kill me for bringing that up.
He's misplaced his passport, so he'll just have to hope the Rangers get through to the semi-final, and hopefully we can perhaps see him again then. So, poor lad.
You caught up, Andy, with Ernesto Valverde earlier on today, the Bilbao manager. I thought some of his comments were really interesting, talking about Czerny's the bullet, and what was it he said again about Dessers?
Being a beacon for the team, yeah. So it's always lighting the way, leading through the spaces, trying to get in behind the team, yeah. So he's clearly someone with full respect for this Rangers team. I mean, yeah, I don't think you saw Rangers' full capabilities last week, given the early red card. But I think, it would be foolish for any manager to write off a team that's managed to get their way through to a quarter-final of a major European competition, regardless of how well or how poorly they may be playing domestically. But he himself referenced the fact that this is a team that's only lost once away in the competition so far. That was against Manchester United at Old Trafford, a game that was decided obviously in stoppage time. So he's certainly not taking Rangers' risk or threat lightly. He's telling his team that they need to be absolutely at it. So I think we all think that Bilbao are the favourites, but as we've seen with this Rangers team, something special happens with them on a Thursday night. So I don't think we can be too much in a rush to write them off just yet.
You shared earlier on social media, Andy, pictures of the stadium. What have you? Talk me through the Inaki Williams locker. What is that all about? That's pretty mad. I've never seen it like that.
It's a shrine, a religious shrine. I've not actually found out what's behind it yet. I need to ask it intro purposes for tomorrow night's match reports. I'll need to do a wee bit of investigating. But yeah, it's just a lot of obviously religious Christian sort of depictions, Jesus Christ and some other figures of that ilk. So I'll need to do a bit of digging before. But yeah, obviously it's a club with a really rich history, a rich tradition. We all know about their sort of Basque-only sort of signing policy. So they take these things seriously, and they feel. A lot of these clubs that they stand for something. They stand for more than just being a football team. They represent their region. They represent the Basque country, the Basque nation. So, yeah, and I think you'll see that passion for the team played out in the stands tomorrow night. I'm really expecting a tremendous atmosphere. You can see beside me, it really is some stadium. It's huge, 55,000, but it's got a feel of a bigger place. And I imagine the sort of roof on it, the noise will be quite impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing the spectacle side of it tomorrow night.
And what about the Rangers team, Andy? It's something that we've debated all week really on the Hotline Live. We all know that obviously 9 changes made at Pittodrie the other day. Obviously Yanis Hadji, I was going to say got the winner. It felt like a winner for Rangers, but obviously the equaliser against Aberdeen. Do you think he'll come into the team tomorrow night?
I'm not entirely sure. I suspect they might go with the same sort of system. I was talking to Scott Monday night before his passport mishap about this, and I tend to agree. He was making the point that he thinks he'll go with the same sort of team, same sort of lineup that they had in Istanbul, with Yilmaz as a right back, Tavernier into the back three, Yefte the other side, sort of Raskin, Barron as the sitters, and Diamandi and Czerny off of Dessers. I tend to think that's the same. I said, speak to Scott Arfield this week as well for his column, and he made a big play. I do think there's a decision to be made on the striker. I think Dessers, that moment when he goes clean through at the weekend and misses that huge chance, just for me sums him up. He's a guy who, at times when the pressure's on, when his head gets a bit scrambled, when he's got too much time to think, I think he just goes for the safety first option and blasts it. I think Agamani's a far more refined character as a centre forward, certainly far more. I think he's got more ice in his veins than Cyril Dessers does, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was all alteration. But in terms of how the rest of the lineup goes, I think it's going to be very similar to what you saw in Istanbul. And listen, they keep their discipline. They've lost it the last 2 games. Obviously, they're sending off 14 minutes in the first leg, so I really killed any chance of Rangers putting on an attacking force, and they had to basically just sit in and defend for their lives and hope that they could get through the tie without suffering any damage. They did that. They did brilliantly. I didn't think Athletic caused them all that much, despite having so much of the ball. But this is going to be a different prospect, even with 11 men. This is going to be a backs to the wall job, and it's about for Rangers when the opportunities come. Can they take them? Can they be clinical in a way that sometimes, unfortunately, they haven't been? We've seen what the profligacy has done to them at times this season, especially domestically when they've missed big chances. It really has come back to bite them, but they cannot afford to be wasting chances because they're simply not going to get that many tomorrow night. I don't imagine. I think it'll be, if they get 1 or 2 chances, they're going to be doing well, and then they have to make sure that they bury them.
Just before I let you go then, Andy, what is your gut feeling? Do you think that come Friday morning, Rangers will be in the semi-finals of the Europa League?
I think if they hit the heights that they have done during this Europa League campaign, these Thursday specials, I think they can. I think they can come over here and do the rope-a-dope, soak up pressure, and hit them with a sucker punch. I think we've seen them do that time and time before, but they have to be at it. They have to be absolutely 100% a flawless performance. If there's any weaknesses, if guys are jumping out their press, jumping out their position and leaving space, I think this is a team that's good enough to exploit it. So, I think they can do it, but only if they're punch perfect.
Andy, I hope it's an absolute cracker for you, and safe travels home when the time comes.
Thanks, Daniel. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Andy. Andy Newport and Bilbao.
Another low blow from you, Dan. I've had to pick him up off the floor there.
Listen, guys, it's all about I bring the comedy to the show. Do you know what I mean? That's my role. I bring the witticism.
At least it's raining. That's softened the blow.
Look, before I get you to come back in and that, let me hit you with some comments that are coming in. Blue Nose John says, Rangers have been incredible in Europe since Steven Gerrard. Is it a good omen that Barry Ferguson has learned from the late great Walter Smith? Your loyal Muppet says, got my wish, Williams injured, touch and go to play. We need to not launch long balls, keep possession, although not easy to do. Rangers easy okay says, I've just got a weird feeling we're going to do it. Only concern is I hope he plays Igamani over Dessers. If we only get 2 good chances tomorrow, I would rather them land to Igamani than Dessers. That's an interesting one, guys. Who do you think will start up front?
I think Dessers will start. It is a massive call though, and a bit of a dilemma for Barry Ferguson. As Andy touched on there, even just what happened at the weekend. You look at how Igaman took his goal at Pataudry. Contrast that with Dessers going through in the last minute, where he lashes it against the post before they get the equaliser. But listen, I think you just need to look at the teams that Barry Ferguson's picked previously, and I agree with Andy. Igaman in front of goal has, without doubt, get more composure, but it's kind of hard to put a finger on it. But I think to start games, Barry Ferguson would always want Dessers. I don't know whether it's his work rate in terms of keeping the shape of the team right.
I think it's his ability to lead the line.
Yes.
And play within a structure.
Yeah.
And I don't think Igaman could be trusted to play
within a structure. He's too off the cuff, Igaman, isn't he?
So I think it will be Dessers as well. And I think that Rangers know what they're getting with Dessers in terms of his discipline, his work rate, his ability to work central defenders. He's always carrying a threat. Now, whether or not he scores is not always, it's hardly ever guaranteed.
No.
But a lot of the chances that Dessers gets are through his running and his ability to link and understand his teammates. Igaman's just a free spirit. You play Igaman, you just put him out there and you say, right, you go and play how you want to play.
It's almost like
because he can't play within the structure.
I think in Barry's head he thinks Dessers for an hour.
And then throw on Igaman.
Then when Igaman goes on, the defenders are a bit more tired, a bit more...
Absolutely.
A bit more... No, there's a bit more...
And who's this guy and what's he doing?
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what will happen. I fully expect Dessers, just as I did, we were having this conversation this time last week, and I said that Dessers was a certainty to start in the first leg, and I kind of felt as well that Jack Butland wouldn't start it. And that's kind of these were the big decisions going into that game. I don't think they're big decisions now. I think that Kelly stays in goal, Dessers leads the line. I think the big decision for Rangers, and I agree with you, Scott, I think it probably is Yilmaz on the right hand side of a 5, Yefty on the left, Suter, Balogun and Tavernier playing as the 3 centre halves. I think, and it's just a hunch, I wonder if Hadji starts instead of Conor Barron, and I wonder if he has more disciplined roles for Diamande and Raskin at the base, but that allows Czerny and Hadji to play in more advanced areas, because I think that he's identified, and he knows fine well, and he's known it for long enough, that Hadji can be a difference maker in the final third. Barron, for all his work rate and his effort and his tackling, and he'll get himself about, I'm not sure he can be trusted in terms of keeping the ball. Possession-wise, I think he's prone to giving it away. And I think that what you really need, as well as work rate, as technicians, but I also think that Hadji has shown more than capable of putting in a real shift in terms of the work rate and the energy that's required and shutting people down. He's shown a willingness to do it. He's shown he's got the energy to do it. He didn't start at Pittodrie. And that's another reason why I would look at it and say, I think the guys that were going to be starting, almost all of them, apart from Liam Kelly, were left out of that starting 11. And I just see that. I can see how, in terms of, he's looking for a fluidity about his system. And that, either you can tell Hadji to go out into a wider role and help cover the fullback positions, because that's what he did in the first leg, and that allows Czerny to attack from wider areas, or you can have them playing pretty narrow and linking up behind Dessers. I think it's a hunch.
I think it's a possibility, and I know why you're saying that, and there's good reasons for it. But my gut is still that he'll
start more defensively, and then throw Hadji on if he's needing something later on.
And as much as you're saying about Barron maybe being limited in possession, which I think he is, I think he's got more discipline sitting there than Diomande has. I still think Diomande likes to go everywhere, and is a bit, he kind of plays in the cuff as well, and can get, when you're trying to keep a rigid shape and rigid system, I think Diomande's more likely to kind of
I think he's very good in tight areas, keeping the ball, and I think that's what Rangers need to do. So if he is more disciplined and he plays a more defensive role, I think he can give the ball to Diomande with a couple of guys around about him and feel more confident that he'll find a Rangers jersey.
I also think in that role that Andy's talking about, and I agree with Andy on the lineup, that the way Barry played Czerny and Diomande, almost as kind of inside forwards, playing off Dessers, but it takes a lot of work rate to get out and in to cover. And I think he'll think that Diomande's got more energy than Hadji for that role. Hadji's got more flair, obviously.
I thought Hadji's performance in the first leg was all about energy, and he didn't really get a lot of opportunities to get on the ball.
He puts a shift in.
I didn't think creative. He couldn't get into the game. So all he had to do in that first leg was be defensively resilient, disciplined, energetic.
He puts a shift
in.
And
I thought he did a great job covering the fullback.
Yeah, and I've said that about Hadji ever since he arrived at Rangers. For a foreign player,
a creative player, his work rate
is really good. Yeah. But the thing is, Jacko, see, when Barry Ferguson get the job, I thought he would love Hadji, and I thought he would play all the time, but it's not really worked out like that. I've been surprised Hadji's not had a bigger role under Barry Ferguson. I'm almost intrigued. There's been times, even when he's been on the bench, and like Bayrami's come on before him, and
that's a fair point.
So I'm intrigued as to just, is there something within Hadji's game that Barry Ferguson isn't sure about? And obviously, after the league defeat at Ibrox, when he came out and said he had to change it up after the Hibs game, he was going to rip it up and start again, basically, and for the Bilbao game. And obviously, Hadji comes back in, which you kind of expected, and he made the changes. You're right, as he left him out of Pittodrie because he is planning to play him.
I think so.
In the second leg, there's every chance. But
I think that's the telltale sign. I think Barry Ferguson's looking at it going, do you know what, Hadji's a starter.
Because also,
Barry starts.
I wonder as well, Keith, if that's
a little bit of a giveaway.
Yeah.
I wonder as well if Hadji's goal actually will kind of solidify his place in the team, because it reminds Barry Ferguson that he's got the work rate, he's got a point to prove, and he can pull a rabbit out of the hat like he did.
And by the way, and do you want my honest assessment, Scott? I think that Barry Ferguson probably sat down with Yanis Hadji when he went in, probably did have a big idea in his head for what he could get out of him, probably had a conversation which led him to believe that Yanis Hadji suspects that the club don't want him. He doesn't feel part of it, that he's not been made to feel wanted. And so maybe if you feel that if there's a commitment issue here, if you think the guy's already got an eye on his next move, I don't know if that's because I don't think he's got a character flaw, Yanis Hadji, in terms of his professionalism. But what I do know is this is the stage for Yanis Hadji. If he does feel that he's going to have to move, that Rangers aren't going to give him a new contract, this is the stage what he can light up. And you know, I think there is some interest in him. I think there's a couple of clubs in Germany that are taking a serious look at him. But if he goes into this stage and performs and lights it up the way that he's certainly got the ability to do it, then who knows? You know, he might be placing himself in a shop window, and you know that he's going to be professional about it in any case. But has he got an extra level of commitment? I don't know. I really get the feeling from the fact that he didn't start. I think the easiest thing to do would have been to start him at Pittodrie. If you didn't have it in your mind to start him in Bilbao.
The other thing is, Daniel, as you've said, when he's got a goal in him, Yanis Hadji, and where I maybe slightly disagree with Andy when he was talking about the game there, it was saying Rangers will have very few chances in the game. I actually think Rangers will get chances. I did a piece the other week with Carlos Cuellar talking about the tie. This was before the home game. And we're just talking about the way Bilbao play. And he was saying certainly at home, no, they commit a lot of players forward. No, they go for it. No, they play high and wide whenever they can. And as a result of that, they do leave gaps. They do leave spaces. And I think, going back to the Istanbul game against Fenerbahce, Rangers had loads of chances that night. They might not get as many tomorrow night, but I think there'll be chances there. So, look, Czerny and Dessers did a brilliant job against Fenerbahce. No, they were almost like the two attacking outlets and were at the heart of everything Rangers did attacking-wise. But maybe I'm saying about going with Conor Barron because it's a bit safer, a bit more defensive. If Barry Ferguson feels that there's going to be chances, then you probably would want Hadji.
Hadji's the guy that can spot a pass.
Aye.
He can unlock a defence, and especially if it's a defence which is quite open because Bilbao are trying to get bodies forward. If Hadji gets the ball in that area, halfway line, and there's a break on, 9 times out of 10 he'll play a right pass.
Yeah.
Who knows? And who knows what Cyril Dessers turns up, because if it's Dessers from Istanbul, what a chance they've got.
I was going to say about Dessers, I mean, I've been one of his biggest critics, and he misses chances, of course he does. We've spoken about it a million times, but he has had mad nights in Europe away from home, where he's suddenly looked like...
Well, bear in mind, this is
Ronaldo.
A guy... We're talking about Rangers feeling comfortable in the Europa League. Dessers, when he was at Feyenoord, it was the Conference League, but he was the Conference League top scorer. And I think he did score goals in the Europa League as well. I think he became frustrated at Feyenoord because he was coming on off the bench with, you know, in the 90th minute, and then he kept on scoring goals in the 92nd minute, and they called him 90 minutes plus 2 man. So
he's had some mad nights. I mean, away to Real Betis, where he scores a goal where he's jinking them between 2-3 players.
Old Trafford as well. That goal at Old Trafford was mad.
Old Trafford, totally unexpected. And the same in Istanbul. I mean, I think even Mourinho was surprised when Mourinho came out and said they made him look like the best striker in the world. But I mean, he had a mad night. I mean, everything he touched. I mean, he could have scored 2 goals chopped off, didn't he? I mean, he could have had a hat-trick away from home to Fenerbahce. Just crazy. So it depends what kind of night he has. But because of that, and also everything tactically that we spoke about, I think that's why he starts ahead of Egerman.
And that's for me, if you've got Hadji and Czerny, both prepared to put in shifts because they are the workers. But if they get the ball in that, you know, on a break, on a counter-attack, getting at a defence which is stretched because Bilbao are a little bit out of shape, 2 players like that have got the ability to link up and create chances.
Yeah.
And we know with Dessers, you know, creating 1 chance might not be enough.
We obviously, time's getting away from us, guys. This is the last show we'll do before the game, so I'll put you both in the spot. What's your predictions, and are Rangers going to get through?
Well, you actually won't believe
don't-
this, except you will, because
No, Chris, I think I will believe it.
How often people must think this is a wind-up, honestly.
but we've been asked to put our predictions in for tomorrow's paper, and before the show starts, so what I did say is, what did you go with? And I didn't really need to even give him the answer. We both knew that we'd both picked the same scoreline. So yeah, we've both gone 2-1 Rangers.
We've never
When you-
been right once.
No, not once.
When you choose your scores, is it you that rolls over teeth and talks about it, or is it Scott? How do you do it? Over breakfast or whatever?
Well, actually, I'm so embarrassed about it that I feel like changing my prediction now. I'm going 5-0 Bilbao.
For what it's worth, and this obviously won't go down well with you, Keith, because we're on late tomorrow night for the show. After the game, we'll pour over the result. I think extra time penalties. I think it's going the whole hog. I do think Rangers will get through, but I think we're going the distance.
I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
No, I wouldn't rule it out
Daniel,
either.
it'll be tight. It will be tight. I
Right.
think if just talk about the team just quickly. I think if there's going to be a weakness in the Rangers team, it might be Yilmaz at right back. If that's the way he's going to go. I mean, I know he's did a job there previously, and he's done okay, but a few times it obviously becomes predictable. When you're turning on,
and he's up against Nico Williams in that position.
Exactly. And if you remember Fenerbahce away, when Alan Saint-Maximin came off the bench, started causing them a real problem, and Barry Ferguson actually put Dujon Sterling on for the last 15-20 minutes
to get control of that situation,
and that's exactly what happened. So I think if there is a weak spot, it might be Yilmaz at right back, just because he's so out of position.
So your alternative to that is that you play NCL as a right centre half and you play Tavernier at right back, because to be fair, Tavernier, the much maligned James Tavernier, I thought he played Nico Williams brilliantly in the first leg.
There's a guy in the comments, Stuart Keane, saying that. He's saying, could Insali play with Tav on the right?
He could, I mean, Insiala has obviously played the left side. I mean, you could go, if you have Tav at right wing back, you have Suter right centre back, Balogun in the middle, the Insiala
left, of course, he's left.
That would suit, that would probably suit people. Balogun would probably prefer to play in the centre. Suter's comfortable in the right. Look, Insiala's been thrown in this season. He's had a couple of shockers, obviously, but for a young guy, he's done okay. He's probably exceeded expectations, but it's a massive game to throw him into.
Yeah, and you look at what happened in Barry Ferguson's first game at Kilmarnock when he had to take Insiala off.
Yeah.
So is there a question mark in the manager's head right now? Can he be trusted to be thrown into that situation? Or do you just go with players that but I do come back to it, because that tactical, that one-on-one sort of battle between Tavernier and Nico Williams was a massive part of the first leg.
Yeah.
And Tavernier, I thought, that was one of the best games he's had defensively in terms of being able to neutralise the threat.
It'll definitely be in the manager's mind. It's an option for him, but I think you're right. I think he just goes with experience. Really.
Or he goes to a 4. Plays Tavernier at right back, plays Barron in his midfield, and gets Hadji into the team.
He could.
We're talking ourselves in circles here.
He could, but I think
do this all night.
I think he goes with a 5. I think away from home, that level of opposition, I think you just want to have a bit more security. And I think the back 5 offers them that. And I mean, it sounds simplistic, and there'll be tweaks in the system and the approach, but that Fenerbahce away game was a brilliant template for Barry Ferguson as a coach, and a blueprint for them away from home in Europe. I'd be really surprised if he veers too far away from that.
The only other Rangers thing that I wanted to touch on today, guys, was a couple of outlets in America claiming that Rangers and a couple of MLS teams are interested in Giovanni Reyna, obviously son of Claudio Reyna, who played for Rangers, won a hatful of trophies for Rangers. He was at one point the next big thing in Dortmund.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. It's not quite worked out for him. We've had a couple of comments on it. Robert Shanklin says Gio Reyna certainly been upgrading Tom Lawrence, that's for sure. And says if he plays like his father did, bring him here to carry the name of a great player. Is he the kind of player that you think...
Carries the name of 2 great players, didn't he? Because he was named after Gio van Bronckhorst as well.
Aye. You think anything in that? Do you think, or
It's interesting. I mean, ordinarily you
I
would
think
say
it's a long shot, as it were.
aye, ordinarily you'd say no chance, purely because, as you say, Daniel, so highly regarded as a young player. No, he's one of the top young players
Coming through in the same team as Bellingham.
in Europe, exactly, and in the US national team. But he has had kind of issues that have kind of seemed to have kind of derailed his career. I mean, he's still very young. We think he's got a year left in his contract at Dortmund. He's not playing regular for them, certainly not starting regular.
he went on loan as well, Scott, to Crystal Palace, I think last season, and it was a washout. Just couldn't get the team. Just didn't suit English football, I think.
So I mean, listen, it would come down to finances again, obviously. But no, we're in the midst of, or no, we're hoping we're in the midst of an American takeover at Rangers, and as you say, with the kind of links he's got to Rangers, with his dad, it might not be as mad as it sounds initially. But listen, it'll depend on him, what he's looking for in terms of the next stage of his career, what Dortmund would be looking for money-wise.
The only feasible way of doing a deal like that would be a year-long loan with an option or an obligation to buy.
Like a Tillman.
Like a Malik Tillman.
Yeah.
If he's not going to feature, if Dortmund have decided and by sending him out loan previously, it's strange because there was such hype about him. But maybe there's a deal there to be done in terms of take him on loan for a year, and then I don't know, because I would imagine even at that, the trigger price to actually make a purchase on a permanent basis is going to be a big number.
Aye, finances would scupper it, but purely on profile, terms of age, ability, sell-on value, it would tick a lot of boxes.
In fact, I've talked myself round there again, haven't I? Because if he's only got a year left in his contract and he spends a year at Rangers on loan, then he'll be a free agent by the time the start of next season came around. So maybe that wouldn't be a barrier to some sort of deal. And if his dad's get involved, and if there is some sort of MLS or link over in the States with the people that are around this Rangers takeover, well, who knows? But that's certainly interesting that he could do a year-long loan deal and become a free agent.
Mm-hmm. But surely Dortmund would want to try and sell him.
Sell now to get some sort of number.
Yeah.
But again, it's not in an ideal position because they've not been playing him. His value's dropped, and he's gone into the final year. So it could be one to keep an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if the people around Gio Reyna are having conversations and trying to stick their toe in the water and see if there's an appetite for the imminent, incoming American owners to take a look at it, because that's one. They've got a market as well that they're trying to open up. So signing a kid like that with his profile that he's got in the States, bringing the 49ers in as part of this whole thing, stranger things.
Yeah, and he would know through his dad. It's not another young.
Well, his dad used Rangers as the platform to go to the English Premier League.
Exactly.
So the family are well aware.
Knows the country, knows the city, knows the club. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Interesting.
Aye, it's one that kind of, when I saw it, kind of makes sense to me, but I guess we'll see what happens. And I should say, John in the comment section, they're saying he was on loan at Nottingham Forest, not Crystal Palace. Thanks for that, John. You can keep me right. Right.
He wasn't getting a game wherever he plays.
True. The other thing, Keith, that I wanted to touch on before we wrap up, you were with Alistair Johnston yesterday. We talked about it on the show. We talked about Guard of Honour. We've had a couple of comments in that. Derek Morrison writes in saying it's evident that Alistair Johnston has been used as a mouthpiece by the Celtic hierarchy. The only team from the old firm to give the other a Guard of Honour was Rangers in 1964 for reaching the last four of the Cup Winners' Cup. Celtic have never returned the favour and vowed they never would. So,
there's a history lesson.
Thanks very much for that, Derek. This one here.
Tip for that for 1964.
What about the stretching back 60 years?
Stephen O'Hearn says, well, I agree I will agree with Alistair Johnson that it will be unlikely that Rangers give Celtic a guard of honour. It would go somewhere in a sort of apology for Czerny's childish actions in the last match. How Ferguson...
That's what they should do. They should let Celtic come out and then all scoosh them.
A guard of honour, each get a bottle.
Each got a scoosh. You can actually have a water fight. Celtic players can come out with their water bottles and they can just have an absolute water fight. Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be a great way to start the derby.
Yeah, Celtic do the guard of honour, but they each get a scoosh.
Aye.
And the Rangers players need to run the gauntlet.
That's a good idea, actually. That's a really good idea. I think we should...
That's perfect.
Take that to Neil Doncaster, that'd be good. And the final one, Glenn Mitchell's saying, when Celtic walk out in the next Glasgow derby, for the first time in a long time, the Tina Turner song will actually have any relevance. After the match, they should change the song to Neil Diamond's Song Sung Blue, which should have much more significance in the venue. So I thought I'd round up our Guard of Honour chat from yesterday by throwing that stuff at you guys. There you go.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Sleep tight. I think that more or less brings us to the end of Wednesday night's Hotline Live with Record Sport. Thanks again for all of the comments sent in. We really appreciate it.
And you better just make it clear tomorrow night's a graveyard shift, Daniel.
A Horlicks night.
Huh?
A Horlicks night.
Yeah. So what time are we? In an ideal world, with everyone finishes on time, we'd be probably around about
10,
looking to
15.
start back 11, 10 past 11. Is that no? That's way too late, isn't it? Have we even thought about this? Have we thought this?
Well, the first leg last week we were on at 10:15.
So we were.
Aye.
Right.
So
let's aim for 10:15, guys.
Aye, 10:15. If it obviously
But
will be later.
Yeah, it could be later, but we will make a significant effort to be ready for 10:15. Jim Jams, cup of cocoa, Hotline Live.
Right, Rebel says Jammies night. You're quite right, Rebel. We'll be there, hopefully for 10:15 tomorrow night. And we hope you can join us then. Thanks very much, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Cheers,
Cheers,
Dan.
Daniel.
And thanks for watching at home. Cheers.